Hey, welcome back to the channel. I'm so excited to be doing this video this week. It looks nothing like all the videos you're used to seeing me on. We are, and especially if you follow me on my social media, you'll know that we're currently in the process of moving house. So this week I have no fancy setup, I have no fancy lighting and cameras. I'm filming this on my iPhone in my office that is half set up to make sure that you still get some really good stuff this week that's really going to help you with your wedding planning. A couple of weeks ago, I got in touch with my friend Fran at Hunter Gatherings. She'd been part of my bride club doing a session in there with me, and there were some great points, and I wanted to pick out a particular area that we could then talk about and reuse over here on the YouTube channel that I know so many of you are going to benefit from. Now, Fran, and I will tag her down here, is an amazing stationery designer, on the day stationery, invitations, decor pieces, styling advice, and I wanted to really get into the ins and outs of designing invitations, how that all works, what you need to include on there, and what not to forget, and some of the trends that kind of go into that as well. So I am so excited to bring this video. I won't say too much about it. I will hand on over and let Fran introduce herself. I really hope you enjoy. We'll be back with some new videos next week, set up in our new living room, which is absolutely gorgeous, and I'm so excited to share with you all. But don't forget, if you enjoy this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up, like, share, go give Fran a follow, and I hope you learn loads and loads of information. As always, if you've got any questions, drop them in the box at the bottom and I will get back to you as soon as possible. Speak soon, guys. Bye. Hey guys, welcome back today, and for once I'm not by myself sat on the floor. I have a guest with me today, which is really exciting. So just want to introduce you to the lovely Fran of Hunter Gatherings. She is expert on all things stationery and design and all those exciting things. So I thought rather than me kind of talk about things and give my ideas, we would actually talk to a professional and have a chat with them about what they actually do and give some advice to you guys from all the work that they do every day. So I am going to hand over to you, Fran. Do you want to introduce yourself, say hello, and we'll go from there?
Oh, yeah. My name's Fran. I run Hunter Gatherings, which is a wedding stationery styling, and I also run craft parties business. So I'm based in Bristol, but also work all across the country and offer everything from save the dates to invitations to thank you cards, as well as all the on the day stationery for your wedding as well. I do everything from scratch. So I start, I do the whole process of design. So working with you as a couple to come up with your invites. I have bespoke options, and I also have a series of house collection stationery items as well. So that's where I am.
Yeah, and it's beautiful stuff because you focus quite a lot on watercolor and oils and things like that. So I will drop Fran's details in the description as well below, so you can have a look at all her stuff, and we'll put some pictures in throughout this video as well.
Cool.
But I had Fran as a guest on my bride club. What was it? But 3 weeks ago?
Yeah, I reckon it was.
And we had an hour's chat with the girls on there, all things stationery, decor, all of that. So I thought it'd be really nice to have on the channel, have a quick kind of interview on the things that we get most asked about with stationery. And I think you're the same as me. You get asked these questions all the time as well.
Yeah.
So we wanted to kind of focus on what you should be putting on your save the dates and your invitations, and then when you need to send things out, because I think that is kind of the biggest questions we get asked, and the things that come up time and time again. And I don't know if it's the same for you as well.
Yeah, definitely the same, especially at the moment as well with everything that's going on. Timings are crucial.
Such a nightmare, isn't it? It's really difficult. So when it comes to invitations, stationery, save the dates, we'll focus on save the dates, seeing as they're the first things that you kind of do with stationery. What do you suggest are the things that you should be putting on there, and the things that can easily be forgotten are quite crucial to having involved on there?
Okay, so save the dates can either be paper form or can be done electronically, and I can design both sides of that. In terms of save the date, obviously the most crucial thing is what date your wedding actually is.
Bits right in.
Yeah, obviously also stating the year that it is. because people might just assume that they realise it's this year, but obviously we're planning quite a few weddings for quite far on now, so make sure that year is quite like visible and obvious. The other thing that sometimes people forget to do is put their names on there.
Quite useful to add that bit of information.
Or we'll just put their sort of like first shorthand names as well. So, and you might have friends that I've got friends that are the same names of couples. So sometimes
really, really awkward, couldn't it? If you were one couple.
Yeah. So just making sure your name is quite clear, and potentially putting surnames as well if needed. I think with save the date, sometimes it's quite good to add, if you know at that stage where your venue is going to be, to pop your venue address on there, or at least give a location so that people have an idea of sort of where in the country your wedding's likely to be. So they
plan as well, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Time off, maybe they want to book a holiday out of it.
Make a thing out of it. So that's quite a good thing. So I'd say key things for save the dates are the date, obviously the names, and possibly a location. And it's always good to say as well that there's going to be a more formal invitation to follow, because otherwise people will be like, oh, is this all I'm going to get? So that's
the rest of the information.
Yeah. And in terms of save the date timings, I'd say anywhere up to a year in advance is probably enough time. Obviously at the moment there's lots of changes, and also if there's popular times of year, so the summer months, a lot of bank holidays, if you're sort of getting married around those sort of like quite busy times of year, then you might want to do it sort of on the earlier side. Because there's possibility that there'll be a couple of weddings. I had it one year where I had 3 weddings all on the same day. And it was
This one you got to you, isn't it?
I know, yeah. So I guess it's like the first come first served sort of situation. So I'd say save the dates can be sent out anytime up to sort of a year in advance, so that people have it in their diaries.
Yeah, no, and I think save the dates have kind of come in and out of popularity, haven't they? It was kind of the thing to not do them, to maybe save a little bit of money on them in the past, but I really do think, especially around all the COVID issues, that they have really come back into kind of fashion and more necessity, maybe, because you need to get them in there and that extra bit of stationery. And it's always nice to have some post, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it's good. And they can be done in different ways. So they can be cards, they can be playful, lots of like pencil me in ideas where you send a little pencil. They can be magnets, they can be cards like more of a postcard feel with a photo of you. They don't have to be necessarily matching to your ongoing invites either. They can be completely separate.
Good to know, yeah, because I think a lot of people worry that they don't know what their style is going to be at that stage.
Yeah.
It's nice to know that it is quite normal to send out something that is maybe very kind of offhand and a little bit random compared to everything else, but fine, then go for it.
Yeah, no, that's good.
With people sending, you mentioned the online save the dates as well. Is it very similar information? Is there anything else that you change or suggest for that?
No, I'd just say the same information. It would be the same sort of design setup, but rather than sending it as a physical card, which I personally prefer, but
it's nice to have
I would just send it as a PDF instead, that then would get emailed or WhatsApped out to people. But like, I don't know, I'm a hands-on person, so
it's nice to have pretty things.
Yeah, that's good.
And when it comes to kind of the invitation side of things, because that's the bit that obviously you want to kind of match a theme, they're a bit more bulky, there's an awful lot more information that you want to put in there. What are the key kind of things that you would say you have to put in an invitation?
Okay, so once again, date and location and names are crucial.
Get people there on time, on the right day and in the right place.
Yeah, no, that is handy. So that's your sort of main main event, the main feature I sort of have is there on the front of an invite is those details. Yeah, like you say, making sure the time is on there, and if there's an arrival time and a ceremony time as well, that's quite a...
Do you see people generally putting an arrival time and a start of ceremony time, or more just the start of ceremony?
It really does depend on the sort of formality of the wedding invites. The more formal ones have both, I find. The sort of more contemporary, sort of modern style invites normally just have a please arrive by, or the ceremony time, sorry. But I would say I've noticed recently in the invites that I've been doing sort of for later on this year, they've had an arrival time and a ceremony time. So I guess that's up to you. And then also they have got, like, if the reception is in a different place, then they've got the reception time on there. Also, something good to remember is if you're doing separate evening invites, to have that wording change of you're invited to the evening reception, and having that and having that evening time on there as well. So that's good. Something else that's good to have on invites is if you're asking for any sort of like information that the guests might need, any transport thoughts, because quite often venues won't necessarily be in the centre of the city, they might be a bit further out, so it's good to have information about that area that your guests may not know. So I would say that that's quite good to include on invites, give your guests an idea of what's available to them in the area.
Especially things like taxis and transport are always good to include, aren't they? Especially if you've got
and whether or not
they don't expect to not be able to call a get my words out, a taxi or something like that, do they?
Or like try and order an Uber.
That doesn't happen, especially where I am. I work with so many kind of couples at the end of the night, and all their friends are like, yeah, we'll just call an Uber. It's midnight, you'll be lucky to get a taxi in this area.
I know. So yes, things like that are quite important to go on there. If you're asking for gifts, whether that's physical gifts, a gift list, a honeymoon fund. I've noticed recently, and I don't know if it's because we've all not been on holiday, that a lot of people are doing this sort of like holiday add-on leaflets where you can put them into, so they're to help with like honeymoons and things. That like go into the invites as well.
It used to be kind of a bit of etiquette against putting like the gift list and stuff in the invites. I'm totally fine with it personally. I think it's a good place to put it. Do you see most people putting that inside the invitations?
Yeah, most people will have it. Normally comes under information, so all the detail, like the smaller details sort of section of the invite, and gifts are always sort of mentioned in there. I think it's just sort of most people say they don't really want anything, but if there's sort of that like thing at the moment, isn't there, where people don't feel they need it, but a lot of people still think you should give gifts. So so a lot of them, it sort of goes on the invite in there. Another really crucial thing, because you need to know, is an RSVP. It's knowing who your guests are, and whether or not they are going to come or not, and whether or not they've got any dietary requirements is quite critical. That's quite a good place to put the dietary requirements. Another thing to consider is whether or not you're inviting children to your wedding. So I'd say putting, whether that's you put the name of the child on the invite or on the RSVP, or whether you have a little note which says, I've got a wording document actually, which is specifically how to say that you don't want children at your wedding, to help people do it in a friendly, nice way. so your invites are basically where you put as much information as you can for your wedding day.
Nice. And when would you generally send invitations out? I mean, there's always this kind of too early, too late, doesn't feel right. What's your kind of take on it? When do you see people sending them?
So I would say anywhere up to about 4 months in advance.
Mm-hmm.
Some people will go a bit earlier than this, especially if they're at a busy time of year. Because if you're in the summer holidays and you need to book accommodation, then people will suggest to do it a bit earlier because of the local area. They'll get booked up in terms of hotels and things. So, but I'd say about 4 months in advance of your wedding day. And that also gives plenty of time for people to RSVP.
Mm-hmm.
And also your suppliers, so your venue, your catering things, they might have cut-off points of when they need to know numbers and things. So it's always good to speak to them about when to get all of your RSVPs back by, and then work back from there, really.
Yeah.
I say around 4 months to send them out. So I guess you need to be speaking to your stationer sort of anywhere between a year and 6 months prior to your date, because depending on how busy their sort of like books are. So I only have a certain amount of stationery I do per month, so that I can always make sure that I can do everybody to the best of my ability and not miss anything. So it's good to make sure that you think about when to get in contact with your stationer so they have time to design it if it's fully from bespoke.
Yeah, especially if you're having a bespoke service, it takes a lot longer than people
really yeah, it definitely does. And then obviously if you're picking a house collection, the design work's already there, but it's obviously, I have a wording template that I send out to you. You have to be able to answer all of those questions, which you might not necessarily know straight away and need to ask suppliers. So it's just giving yourself plenty of time, but I reckon about 4 months to actually physically send out the invites.
Yeah, and RSVP dates, always do them slightly earlier than you need the information, isn't it? Because
definitely
gets back to you on time, do they?
No one ever gets back to you on time, and you always have to chase somebody. And traditionally, like they say, 4 weeks prior to the date, but I think that's too yeah, so I think that's not enough time, really, because so much can change, and obviously you need to make sure that, well, for own peace of mind as well, you want to know sort of prior to that. So normally I suggest 6 weeks prior, but anything between sort of 6 weeks and 4 weeks before the thing. But most people will need to have responded by then to know whether they're coming, and also book their own accommodation and everything like that. So most people tend to be quite good at responding anyway.
Yeah, no, definitely give yourself enough time, because it's amazing how much work you've got to actually do after you have those RSVPs.
Yeah,
like how the caterer and the venue and the furniture and all those little items.
Yeah,
you don't want to be doing that 2 weeks before your wedding and
yeah,
about everything. So
yeah,
definitely, guys, give yourself enough time to get everything.
Yeah.
When it comes to, because obviously wedding websites have been so popular, and again, especially with all the unknown recently of changing dates, wedding websites have been a really good way of communicating that with your guests without having to send out countless new invitations every month when things change. How does it change your invitations if you're having a wedding website? What information do you not need to do? Does it simplify things? How does it tend to work?
So I guess with wedding invites websites, then essentially all you need initially to send out to your guests is a card with those sort of basic details of who it is getting married, the wedding date, the location, but then also the link to the website. And that can be as sort of as simple and as like basic as you want it to be, or it can still be a really beautiful card. And then essentially I also offer a service where I can make graphics for websites, so you can still have that link from whatever you choose to put on your card can then be put onto your website in terms of imagery as well. In terms of information, I'd say the information that you were going to put on your invites would all need to be on your website as well. Obviously you would be doing that instead of obviously me putting it onto the invites. A lot of people also have like an electronic RSVP option on their website as well, which obviously is in some ways more sustainable, because you are not necessarily using as much card and things, but I, as I've said, I love physical things.
That's why we're in this industry. We stuff, don't we? In the
definitely. So I am always up for sort of having a suite. I love the way they look. I love that you can layer up your invites. You can add ribbons, you can add wax seals, you can add labels, little tags, etc. And you can make a show out of your day to start off, and I love that. But obviously you can do it via a website in the same way, because you can make your website look really beautiful with the imagery and things that can all be linked to the initial cards. There's lots of options out there.
Yeah, nice. No, I think it's nice to have a balance, isn't it? Because I think if you do everything electronic, and some people are going to prefer the electronic side, but I think there's something nice about being a bit crafty for your wedding day, or having these pretty items that you can kind of look at and write the envelopes for. And I'm guessing you offer like calligraphy services and stuff like that as well, if people want to have that more kind of fancy writing on things.
Yeah. So I can write names for guests on there. That comes as an extra, and then I also do envelope writing as well, and can provide, the invitations come with sort of standard white envelopes as normal, but also I offer coloured envelopes as well if you want to go really jazzy. And my sort of standard RSVP style is a postcard style. So you just have you set it up, so the front's your RSVP, the back has got all the details, what you need from your guests, and then all they have to do is pop a stamp on it and return it in the post, which is quite a nice way and sort of like a little experience, and then you get lots of little postcards to you.
Post coming through the door. I mean, I feel like we do that nowadays. It is nice to have that other side. So I think for everyone, there's finding a balance on what you want to do. For some people, the website and the automation is so much easier because you don't have to put it into the spreadsheets to send off to the suppliers. It does it for you. But there's that other side of the excitement of getting post through your door and, you know, looking at it and maybe getting messages off your guests, which is really special and something maybe to consider for your wedding day, definitely. Well, it has been lovely having you here today. I can't wait till we can actually meet in person and have a coffee and maybe in-person chats rather than all this virtual. But it is so nice to see you, and thank you so much for your information. I'm sure everyone is going to find this really, really useful. And stationery is always a really nice part to talk about for your wedding day. Is so much you can do with it. Lovely. Well, I will leave it there. I will let you get on with your day because it's actually quite early in the morning, isn't it? So we've got a long day ahead of us. But it's always nice chatting to you, and thank you so much for being a part of this.
Thanks, you too. Bye.
I'll see you soon, lovely. Bye.